Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 214 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book came out in November. It's called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. That is available now. Go and pick up that book today on Amazon. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I was doing search engine optimization before it even had a name. My mother-in-law had a litter of 13 Mastiff puppies, and she didn't know what to do with them. So I suggested a website with photos and started to manipulate Google search engine results using links on other high-ranking websites. The result was the top ranking in Google naturally, my mother-in-law's website, and her phone would not stop ringing. That led to my first entrepreneurial venture in terms of website development and search engine optimization. So you never really know when a fun side project is going to end up becoming your next big business. Our next guest believes that he is the definition of a self-starter, and he's not happy unless he's constantly improving a current skill that he has or continually trying to learn something new. He has been selling products on Amazon since he was a junior in high school, and he has loved learning all the ins and outs of selling on e-commerce marketplaces. For the past few years, he's been running a consulting firm that specializes in growing and optimizing e-commerce brands, their vertical and retail sales channels. He is a finance student at Auburn University. One day he hopes to leverage his experience in working with a wide range of organizations combined with his finance degree into a career. Could be private equity, maybe venture capital. Who knows? I can't wait to see where it all ends up. Welcome to the show, Avery Arasin.
Thank you for that intro.
Of course, it's my pleasure. You know, I read an article about some of your entrepreneurial ventures, and I was like, I got to get Avery on the show because, you know, so many college students get great ideas while they're in college and really don't know what to do with it, how to proceed. And I think just speaking to another college student might be helpful. So a little bit of background, you've been selling these products on Amazon since you were a junior in high school, which I have all the respect for in the world. What made you so interested in e-commerce?
Yeah, so I've always been really entrepreneurial. But when I was in high school, I didn't have any money. So I was just looking for ventures that I could start without a lot of overhead, and e-commerce, I needed inventory, but other than that, I didn't need to hire anyone. I didn't need retail space. I didn't, a lot of stuff. So it was just a lot of my ventures, you look at them, everything I've ever done has pretty much had the same common thread of low overhead so far. So that's pretty much how I got into e-commerce, and then it just ended up being a pretty good fit.
Yeah, that's really smart. I'm also, have a similar background as you, and I agree with you completely. Anywhere that you can eliminate the brick and mortar expense, anywhere you can eliminate your employee expense, that is a huge expense. So what you're doing, I think, is really smart, and it's going to set you up for life to look at a business and say to yourself, can I do this with limited expenses? Yes or no? Because once you get entrenched in a brick and mortar location, or you have hundreds of employees, your responsibilities go up tenfold. So I like it. I like it a lot. Now, you decided on Auburn University for your undergraduate experience. So I'm wondering, why was Auburn the right choice for you?
Yeah, so my dad went here, and I'm from Atlanta, so about an hour and a half drive. I grew up coming to Auburn quite a bit. I just fell in love with it from like a young age and knew it was where I wanted to be. It's not really people really understand. It's a very special place. You don't really understand until you're here. And so I just knew that there's not really any other place I wanted to be. So
Yeah, it certainly has great athletics, great sports. I mean, football is legendary, and a great university. Interestingly enough, a very big fraternity and sorority system, so that leads into other conversations. But that's a great choice and a fantastic school. There's no question about it. Now, people did different things during the pandemic lockdown that we had. You wrote your first line of code during the pandemic lockdown in 2020. So I'm wondering, what was driving you to learn coding at this particular time?
yeah, so it was a combination of, I have super bad ADHD, and I knew I couldn't just sit at home. So I knew I needed to do something. And I really like learning new things, and I'd thought about learning coding for a while. So it seemed like a good time, as well as I started having a lot of ideas that I needed people to would have had to have people build for me because I didn't know how to code. And I realized like it's the ultimate way to build low overhead businesses. If you can learn how to code yourself and just build it yourself, then you can build software, for free. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so smart. I mean, during the pandemic, a lot of us were just isolated for whatever reason. And we're basically trying to figure out what are we going to do with all of our extra time? How can we stay safe but still be productive? I know our team, we decided to write 2 books in 2021. And that really was just about trying to figure out what are we going to do? We can't physically go to these college campuses at this time. So, how can we get the information out to the masses? And so, you did a very similar thing, I think, in terms of learning code, understanding that your business could reach thousands, if not millions of people online if you just learn this one skill. So to me, that makes a lot of sense and very productive. I have all the respect in the world for people that learn new skills and develop new ways of reaching their clients during a pandemic. And you know what? The biggest businesses in the world have started during times when we have recessions and things like that. And all of these new opportunities end up opening up. So is the pandemic something that is a terrible thing for this country and for people all over the globe? Absolutely. There's no question about it. However, I do think we're going to look back at this time in the pandemic and say to ourselves, wow, look at all the new companies that started during this time. And I think if not for the pandemic, a lot of these companies and businesses never would have started, right?
Now, that's something my dad says. My dad's a successful entrepreneur as well. He whenever like in the March recession, when it started looking really bad, and he was on a phone call, having to talk about like having to lay maybe everyone off because it looked like no one had any revenue potentially for like the next year. No one knew it was gonna happen, but like every time it like looks like it could get bad, he always just says like no, like big opportunities come out of these really bad things. So yeah, it could be rough for a little, but like you should still have some optimism because there's going to be a lot of opportunity opening up.
Yeah, your dad's right on the money. Huge opportunities when stuff like that happens in the marketplace. It depends on how you look at it, right? You can always look at things as half full or half empty, depending on your vantage point. Now let's talk about your product here. You created BAE Greek Life Dates, this app out there. So where did this particular idea come from?
So my sisters were both in sororities when they were in college, and so it's a combination of them telling me about just how many events they had, and some of my friends were telling me that they were on other dating apps, and they were telling me like half the people they were seeing were like just saying they needed dates for their different events. And so I figured that it'd be easier to be on a platform where everyone's looking for the same thing, and the expectations are there that you're looking to be a date for an event. So that's mainly where that idea came from.
Wow, that is incredible. And I mean, did you ever, I mean, you're at Auburn University. I mean, did you ever consider joining a fraternity yourself?
I thought about it for a little. My first semester was during COVID and everything was just kind of odd, so I just didn't really end up getting that involved my first year. So it's kind of what happened. But yeah, I definitely considered it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I tell you what, don't, shut the door on that. It's never too late. I mean, even alumni, say to me, man, I thought about joining a fraternity. I never did. And we end up doing alumni initiations for some of these folks that helped Greek life in some way. So don't be closed about it. I mean, think about it. And if that's something that you want to do, certainly your product, I think, obviously, lends itself to success within the fraternity and sorority community. Auburn has a huge one. So I think getting integrated with that system, I think is going to open your eyes to other problems and other issues within the fraternity and sorority system that might not be visible to you on the outside. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. So, all right. So talk to us about this app. I mean, how many users do you have right now? How many campuses are using the app right now?
Yeah. So at 3,000 and I think 16 out this morning and 106 campuses.
106 campuses. Holy cow. That is absolutely amazing. Good for you, man. I mean, I think it's a real issue. It's something that needs to be solved. So I think that's really smart of you, talking to your sisters about problems they're experiencing and then just trying to figure out what can I do to help solve this issue, because I do think it is something that, people need in college. Obviously, there's a ton of events to go to when I'm thinking about formals and other social events that are going on. And if you're not dating somebody, the question is, what in the world do you do? And you don't want to be stuck going alone. So it totally makes sense. What feedback have you received about the app from users? Are there any fun stories out there that you've heard?
The best thing is I had a few people reach out to me and tell me that they found dates to their events. This is just really cool to me because, once you put all the work into an idea, you have no idea if it's going to work or help anyone. So it's really cool when they reach out and they're like, yeah, actually, I found a date like super fast and it was way easier than having to go ask all my friends. So that's like the main feedback that I like the most.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. When you start a new business or a new product, you hope and pray that it's going to work out, right? But the best feeling in the world is when you actually start to see it take flight. When people are actually using the app on a regular basis and they're seeing success, then you're like, oh my goodness, we created this brand new product that never existed yesterday. It's here today and people are already using it and having its success. I mean, for an entrepreneur, there is no better feeling in the world. So I hope that, not only you, Avery, but the other college students that are listening now, that they get a chance to experience that. Because once you get a taste of it, you're like, I want to do this all the time. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, listen, keep thinking about new ideas. I think, this app itself, I think has a ton of promise, but I think there's other opportunities out there for you to go out and explore and to solve. So I really like all of it. Are there any lessons that you learned as a result of building this app that might be helpful to other college students that might be thinking about doing something similar?
Yeah, I think I learned that uh, the internet has made a lot of things possible if you're willing to just persevere and if you believe in yourself that you can build something. There's going to be moments where a lot of moments in my app's case that looks like it might not be possible to build this because you have no idea what you're doing at first. And if you just decide that you're gonna figure it out, using the internet, you can probably figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can go to YouTube right now and learn how to do just about anything. And I think that's the other interesting thing about you and other Gen Z students is that your parents, me, basically, people my age, because I have a couple of kids myself that are your age, your parents taught you that you can do anything and you can learn anything and you can just build your own path. And I think that came from your dad, to basically say that you can do anything you want. You can make your own living, you can build your own path and make things happen. And maybe looking at other entrepreneurial successes out there, the Bill Gates of the world and others, maybe inspired you in some way.
Yeah, for sure. My dad is definitely big influence. He grew up really, really, really poor, and he's worked his way up to having a very, very successful company. And it's always subconsciously just given me the belief that you can like determine your own destiny, which I think was really important in this like cases of believing in myself to be able to build an app and the other ventures I've done.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what you do next because I think this is just the start, for this app and then some of the other ideas that I'm sure are just running around in your head right now. What's the future for this app in terms of functionality? Where do you want it to go in the future?
Yeah, so functionality wise, I have a few features I'm thinking about adding. Like something that intrigues me right now is doing like official partnerships with fraternities and sororities on campus for specific events where they can like register the event and have the actual lists of the people involved. So everything's an extra layer of safety features and just like even more intent behind the users of like the specific events. And then just for the future, where I love the app to go is just to be kind of a go-to place to find dates for all the different events and just what everyone thinks of immediately, as well as like having official partnership components with like events through the fraternities and sororities.
I like that a lot. That's really good. And one question that I was thinking about just now, I mean, have you figured out how to monetize this app yet?
Yeah, it's going to be a combination of local advertisers at each campus and national. I think it's a unique ad product because it's probably the most specifically targeted digital placement if you're looking to target fraternity and sorority members, because most digital products like Facebook ads, I guess, as a competitor, they can get you the college kids about that demographic, but they can't get you for sure fraternity sorority placements, as well as my app would have the ability to give like the ad product where you can get in front of the specific sorority, and so you can change your creative to be really contextual. I think that's just an interesting ad placement. That's the main way to monetize the app.
Wow, man, you've thought of everything, man. I really like where you're going with this thing. I think that there's, sky is the limit as far as I'm concerned. What's your advice to other college students that are listening right now? Maybe they have an idea for a new product or maybe a new service that they want to offer and they want to build a business. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, my advice would be first, just go ask a ton of people that you think would be in the target market if they would use it, because like people are scared of getting their ideas stolen. But just from my personal experience, it's really just the action of making something happen. There's not many people are willing to actually do that. So the risk of getting your idea stolen by someone is kind of low at first. So just getting the feedback from people is really important before you spend a bunch of time making something happen. Just ask a ton of people. And then from there, I would say just commit to pulling it off and actually take action. And if you're willing to make sure that you make something happen, that it's pretty likely that you will do it.
Yeah.
So just take action.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Take action. I think, a lot of people chase perfection, whether it be a website or an app or something like that. The problem with this, and I've seen other people, because as a web designer in a former life, I've seen people like not roll out their website because they want it to be perfect in terms of the images that they're displaying and functionality and all of these things. And then they never launch their website.
Yeah.
And like their whole business suffers because of that inaction. And what you're saying is just take action today, and then you'll figure out how to build the rest of the plane while you're in flight, right?
Yeah, it's like not having a fear of failure, I think, is a huge thing that's helped me. Like in business wise, like I just never had a fear of failure. I definitely have it in other aspects of my life, but as far as like just trying some random entrepreneurial ventures, like I've tried so many things that I've just done terrible or just done nothing. And I put a bunch of effort and time into them and then nothing happened. But like I've learned things along the way. I think that's the biggest thing, is like just don't be afraid of failure or anyone like criticizing you for that failure, just because it doesn't really matter. Like you're gonna learn, and it's a lot more valuable, in my opinion, to fail like 100 times than not try anything at all. So
100%, man. I wish that every college student is listening to what you're saying right now, because now is your time to fail when you're in college, to figure out what you do well and what you don't do well. So that way you can apply it in the real world. Ultimately, today, nothing is going to happen. I mean, if this app, is uber successful, fantastic. If it's not, then okay, you learn something and you're going to take that with you to the next app. So, I mean, either you win and you're ultimately very successful, or you quote unquote lose, but you just learn for your next app. So there is no downside here.
Yeah, one of my early mentors, he owns a pretty big e-commerce business here at Auburn, and his favorite saying is "win or lose" or "win or learn." So that's kind of to the heart for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I hope that other college students will take that advice and run with it, because who knows, what product or service they're going to come up with. So I like that a lot. So we love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast, and we love eating food near college towns. What is your favorite restaurant near Auburn that you're at all the time?
My favorite restaurant is probably Bow and Arrow. It's a barbecue place here. It's very solid barbecue. I would have had to say the Q House. Unfortunately, it closed because the guy owned it just retired and ended up closing. But it had the best peanut butter pie in the world before it closed. It was devastating when it went shut down.
All right, that sounds good. Next time I'm at Auburn and I'm speaking there, we'll definitely go to Bow and Arrow and get some barbecue. Now, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, so I know a thing or two about good barbecue. So we're going to see if Bow and Arrow actually lives up to the billing, Avery. All right, cool, man. Well, listen, I really appreciate it. Now, where can our listeners go in order to download your app and then start to use it?
Yeah, BAE Greek Life Dates on the Apple App Store as BAE Greek Life Dates. Just search that in the App Store and it should come up.
Awesome. That's really good. Now, what about Android users? Do they have the opportunity to use this?
It's not on Android yet. I haven't gotten a single request yet, actually, to be on Android. So I think the demographic skews pretty heavily Apple from what I've.
Yeah, I agree with you. The demographic definitely skews heavy Apple, but listen, as an Android user myself, I feel ignored. I'm feeling no love from you, Avery.
Oh, I think that's my first Android request right here on this podcast.
You're getting your first Android request right here, right now. So hopefully in the future, you'll be able to get it on Android. But right now, go and check it out in the Apple Store. It's called BAE, B-A-E, Greek Life Dates. Go and check that out today. And we hope that you'll start using it, and make sure you let Avery know what you think of his app, because, hey, man, I just love supporting college students that have brilliant ideas. And I think Avery, with this idea and then the other ideas to come, there's no question about it that we're going to look back at this interview and go, here's the start. This is where it all began. So congratulations, Avery. I'm super proud of what you're doing, man.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. To all the college students that are listening right now, make sure you like Avery's interview. Make sure you share it with other fraternity and sorority students on your campus. And we will see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much. Bye for now.